Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Motivational speaker, coach, God lover, and goal crusher Joe Rivera brings you inspiring leaders, incredible stories, and valuable lessons on how you can change, grow, and reforge your life. Now, here's your host, Joe Rivera.
What up, what up, what up, what up? Welcome to the Reforge Your Life show. I'm your host, Joe Rivera. And here at Reforge Your Life, we show you that comebacks become a reality. And man, am I excited about the guest that I have today. A real good friend of mine. He's a CEO, author, devoted husband, father, and he's an amazing person, man. And I'm blessed to bring him on the show today. Rick Gabrielli, welcome, brother. So grateful to have you here, man.
Thank you, Joe, my brother. I'm so honored to be with you. Anytime I get to share the mic with you, so special, and I'm always so proud of what you're doing.
Yeah, man, and I love what you're doing out there also. Our energy's always connected and throughout our friendship, and man, it's been a blessing to have you on my side, brother. You have an incredible story, and I've heard it, but my audience hasn't heard it, and nobody tells it better than you. So I'd love for you to break down, a little bit about tell your story, man. Put it out there.
All right. Thank you, Joe. I'll go back to, as a kid, I was just doing everything right. And man, I was just on this track. And, I was just one of those kids who just listened to his dad and, just had that connection and that stability. And on August 6th of 1981, my dad, who was 53 at the time, he died of a heart attack. I was only 19. It was after my first year of college, pre-law track. And I got to tell you, my GPS was gone that particular day. It was the lowest point I could imagine. It was unexpected. And so I lost, all of my guidance at that particular time. And as a young man, the youngest of three kids, I kind of lost my way. And I would say it was about, 4 or 5 years of just being lost, being with the wrong people, being in college, but kind of being on the wrong side of it, the partying and drugs and alcohol and all of the bad people. And I was vulnerable. And so I lost my way. And, I was really just struggling, and I basically wanted to die, and I wanted to go with my father. So, I think that to talk to your people and to say, what's the reforge part? I had a high school biology teacher who wrote me a letter because he heard from some of my friends that I was off the rails. And he wrote me a letter, and he said, basically, I know of a great place for you to go to, turn your life around. And Joe, when I read that letter, a switch flipped in my mind and in my heart. I did not know at the time, but I never touched another drug after that. And something happened. I thought, if this guy thinks I'm this important, maybe there's something to it. And I changed my life. About a year later, I met a young lady who I've been married to for 36 years. Matter of fact, tomorrow we will be together for 38 years. That's my beautiful wife, Carol. And that was the angel that was sent to me. So between this incredible relationship with my high school biology teacher and then this woman I met a year later, the last 38 years of my life have been truly magical.
That's a blessing, man. You talk about losing your way. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what that looked like? What did losing your way for you? What was that like?
Well, so I was one of these kids who, being the youngest kid and had a, Bronx-born Italian father who was ruled with an iron fist, and he was as good as gold, to the people that he loved. And he just said, listen, you stick with me. I know what life is like. I'm going to tell you the roads, and you take the right path. Everything's going to be simple. And I was just, yes, Dad, yes, Dad. I was doing everything right. And all of a sudden, that's gone.
Yeah.
So imagine literally like the GPS. So someone gets in a car today and they're driving somewhere, no maps, no idea. They're on the GPS, and then the GPS stops working. So I literally had no guidance. Now, there were people around me, oh, this uncle or this friend or so and so is going to try to give me guidance, even my mother, my sister, and brother. But I quickly got around the wrong people. And I think that the pain and that hole in my heart was so deep that I was vulnerable. As I mentioned, I was, going down the wrong path. And it's very easy when you're on a slippery slope to lose control. And that's what happened to me. And the next thing you know, I'm I'm off the rails and I'm doing everything wrong. I'm making bad decision after bad decision with the hopes that maybe I'll die and I'll be able to go with my father and then I won't have to face life without him because I couldn't imagine how I was ever going to make it on my own. So it just felt like the biggest hole in my heart and the emptiness. And to tell you the truth, it took me many, many years to find a way to get past that feeling of that emptiness. Even after I met my wife, and even after I was, fully on my path to whatever you want to call it, recovery, connection, being legendary again, I still had that hole there. And then it was a very interesting thing that happened. One of my friends from high school came to my home one day, and she's a channeler and psychic, so she walks in my house, and this is maybe, well, it's probably about 20, maybe 20, 15 to 20 years ago. So it's a long time. My father died in 81. This was probably 2010. So it was many, many years later. She came in my house and she said, that I sense that there's like a male spirit, like two men in this back room here. And I was like, oh, wow, that's probably, maybe it's my uncle and my father. Because I had a very, beloved uncle, my mother's oldest brother, Jimmy, and my father were like the two greatest male figures in my life. And she said, yeah, I could sense that. So that day, I really felt like I had replaced that feeling of emptiness with my father. I almost felt like they both like got inside me and I was able to kind of zip up. And from then on, I never felt that loss anymore. I actually felt complete and whole. And I was doing great things, but to be able to get past the loss, it took that many years, probably 20 years.
It sounds like there was spiritual bankruptcy going on when you had that emptiness in your life,
100%.
and then all of a sudden, boom, this spiritual wealth hits you, and you continue to grow from there. What do you do now to continue to grow that spiritual connection, that relationship that you feel where your father and your uncle are within you?
Well, so I had some experience in marriage coaching and relationship coaching. I had a business called The Marriage Boss back in 2012 and 13, which I did for about 8 years. And one time I asked my wife, what am I good at? She said, well, you're good at communicating in a marriage. So I started this coaching program called The Marriage Boss, where I was helping men open up and communicate more often and more effectively, especially New York Italian men. Because as you know, we are a very closed group that don't really want to share our emotions and feelings. So I thought maybe this could benefit, other couples out there like it benefited me. So while I was doing that work, I realized there was a formula, and I discovered this, and it was one of my signature formulas. It's called the four S's, and it's source, self, spouse, and special people. And the way I formulated this was I realized that God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, or this higher power was at work in my life. There's no accident that teacher wrote that letter, and it's no accident that I met this woman. And what's interesting is about 10 years after my high school teacher wrote that letter, we were in the water at Ocean Grove, New Jersey, at his beach house, and we were taking a heavy wave, and we both went into the shore, and all of a sudden I don't see him anywhere. He's floating face down in the ocean. He had hit a sandbar and became paralyzed. So I swam out, picked up his lifeless body, brought him back to the shore, and put him on the beach. Paramedics came and they resuscitated him. He ended up going in the hospital, being paralyzed for several months, and then he got a special operation, which helped him recover his his feeling, and he actually lived about 15 years longer, and life went on. So he made a full recovery. So actually, the night that he went to the hospital, I whispered in his ear bedside. I said, "Now we're even. You saved my life. Now I saved yours."
Wow.
But there's no doubt that God was at work, and that spiritual uh, saving that you might talk about was always at work in my life, but I didn't understand it at the time when my father died. I was too young and immature and traumatized. But now that I look back on it, all of the things that happen in my life are from source, from a higher power, from God. So once I decided, okay, I'm going to concentrate on source and then self and then spouse, and that unified approach we're having every day, I'm connecting with source and myself. I happen to have a great wife, so spouse could be another significant other in your life or some other love. And then special people, our kids, customers, friends, family. But a lot of people have those things backwards. A lot of people don't tap into source or God. Maybe they're just working on helping someone else or having a spouse or children, and they maybe lose themselves. So if they lose themselves, then that formula turns upside down. So if you keep source, self, spouse, and special people all in order, you can have a little bit more balance in life, and you can also be as strong as you need to be to take on the world every day, because we're all spiritual warriors.
Man, I hope everybody's listening to the jewels that he just dropped and y'all are picking them up, man, because it's so true. You got that spiritual component that's got to come first, because when you put spirituality first, man, the doors that open, the mountains that get moved, and then, putting yourself right after that before you put everybody else, because guess what? If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of the people that you love. You can't take care of your spouse. You can't take care of those special people in your life. So those four S's that he's dropping are in the right order, and I hope people are taking notes out there, man. So, Rick, before that spiritual connection happened, right? Because when we go through a time in our life where we hit rock bottom and you got to bounce back. I know a little bit about that. So when you do that, there's like limited beliefs that have to get cracked through, right, to overcome those challenges. What were the limited beliefs that you had to overcome when you went to that place and right before you went to the place that you got the help from?
Well, it's funny. I always hear whenever someone says limiting beliefs, any kind of blocks that we're facing in life are usually from these two recordings that are in everybody's mind all the time. One is, I'm not good enough. And the other one is, who do you think you are? So when we're failing, we always have this tape playing in our head. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And the world will tell you that anyway. So even if you don't have it playing, the world will tell you that. And then as soon as you start to succeed a little bit, and maybe you just sniff a little bit of success, you start hearing, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? What, you're too big now? You're too good for us? You forgot where you came from? So all of us have these two tapes playing in our heads all the time. You're not good enough, and who do you think you are? So without getting too deep into the psychology of it, we just can't believe what our own mind tells us sometimes. And then we also should never believe what other people tell us. When they're telling us we're great, we shouldn't believe it. And when they're telling us we're useless, we shouldn't be believing it. What we should be doing is just working on helping other people find that path and shining our light on other people. As soon as I stopped worrying about myself and my own problems, Joe, and started helping other people and shining my light on them, lighting their torch, my problems seemed insignificant.
Yeah, yeah. There's something that happens when we're being of service to other people. It's just things just start to fall into place because you're being of service, and we're taking on the assignment that higher source, you want to call it God, the
Exactly.
universe, infinite intelligence, whatever
Exactly.
you believe, you're taking on the assignment that source is giving you when you're being of service to other people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Man,
That is the key. Because see, if I said to you, okay, I'm going to give you these four S's. You put them in the order you want them in. We pretty much everybody thinks there's some kind of higher power or God, source, universe, yoga, gardening, whatever your hobby is, the Mets, whatever your God is. And
Love
then
that
pretty
shout
much
out.
everyone knows there's a self, and then there may be, if you're lucky, there's a significant other, and then there's always special people. There's always parents or teachers or clients or, other people in the world. So if I give you the four S's in a box and just say, sort them out, put them in the right order, and I leave you alone for an hour, you might get it right. The question is, can you do it tomorrow? Can you actually make that formula work? Can you actually meditate or pray or let go, give it up in some way? Can you let go of trying to control, the whole world and how it works and think that you can just make everything happen that you want without the help of God or universe, source, whatever. So but I invite everybody on the show to try it. Go ahead and try it any way you want. And then when you decide it doesn't work right, put it in the order I said, and then tell me how that works. So this is not do what we say, experiment. We all did. You and I experimented with it, right? So we
Absolutely.
just know that this is the right order now.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not going to be perfect in the beginning when someone's trying it for the first time. There's going to be bumps in the road, and things are going to get messed up, just like anything else. When you're thinking about success, success is never a straight line to the top. There's going to be bumps in the road, right? But you got to learn how to navigate through those bumps in the road in order to be successful in anything. It's the same thing when you're practicing your spirituality practice and building your relationship. In the beginning, start off at 1 to 2 minutes, and it's not going to be perfect. But then you continue to grow. That gratitude continues to grow, and then next thing you know, you're sitting in a room where you're a half hour because you got so much to be grateful for, and you're connecting with that higher source on a daily basis, and you're having dialogue throughout the day. Same thing when you're practicing self-care, right? You got to start with something small where you're going to continue to grow and see yourself grow every day, because guess what? It's not about perfection, it's about progression. And it goes through your relationships. It's all the same thing. So learning how to be able to maneuver that and get it right every day, right? Because that
Yeah.
takes
Yep.
practice. So what is as far, because once you crack through those limited beliefs, there's core values that get aligned, that start coming into play, that you get aligned with. What would you say are your top three core values? I mean, I'm hearing a couple in just this conversation alone: spirituality, family. So where would you say your top 3 to 5 core values are?
Well, I like connection, and I like exploring and observing what the connection is between people. So when I meet someone, especially if there's either a different culture or maybe a language barrier or that somebody's from a different place than me, I've learned recently that New York is not the center of the universe, and we are not the only people on the planet. But
Wait, it's not.
I hate to drop that, right? But it's hard sometimes, for us to think, that there's any place else in the world. But I've learned over the past, 35 years, everybody is the same. We all want the same things. But so for me, connection, I really try to establish a connection with someone. When I can do that, then energy, value, meaning, and being of service. I mean, for me, again, everything changed in my life when I stopped focusing on my own problems and I started to help other people, first by just listening, listening to other people's lives. And pretty much people will tell you what's going on in their world, maybe superficially at first, but then if you ask another question, resist telling your own story and just listening and asking, and then, how can I help you? How can I connect you to somebody? Most people who reach out to me ask me to connect them with somebody who can help them in some way. So that's how I can serve in the highest state right now, is to be the connector, to be that guy who says, you know what, I can pretty much connect you with not only people who align with you, but people who can help you accomplish your mission. And they might say, well, I don't have a mission, Rick. Well, then you need to connect with Joe so Joe can help you find his mission, that type of thing. As I'm talking with you today, I'm remembering how you and I met and when we connected and all we've already done together and how I think about you when you're not with me and what I know you're doing in the world. And so it feels good to me to be around people like you and have people like you and brothers like you in my life that have my back and help elevate me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's
That's my core value.
that connection is huge, and when it comes to building any relationship out there, you have to have that connection, and being of service like that, and always looking to help people. It's not what have you done for me lately. It's what can we do for each other to help each other grow, right? And when you surround yourself with other people who inspire you, guess what? You're going to be inspired to do more with your life. So surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals is vital for success. And Rick, I can't express the amount of gratitude that I have to have a friend like you in my life and someone that I know I could, throw ideas to and go back and forth and that I could count on through thick and thin. And that's something that's not easy to find out in the world. So I'm very grateful for that and having you in my life for that, man. So
Thank you, brother. Me too. You know what I just thought of? Being interested instead of interesting. We both have been building brands our whole life. And everything about brand building is how can I be more interesting in the world? How can I make the colors look right? And my pictures like this and pop my biceps and then pictures with the Empire State Building in the background. And it's like, and we're trying to be interesting. But when we got on this call today, the first thing you did is ask about me. How are you doing? How's your family? What did you do? What's Max doing? So you were interested. And that's why this alignment is so beautiful because when you find people who are interested, now you can be interesting.
yes, yes, you can, because man, that's a good one. That's another jewel he's dropping, man. Be interested, and then you become interesting.
Yeah.
Rick, what is what makes your spirit come alive?
Well, I remember when I was a young kid, again, being the third, so I was the youngest kid. Yes, I was spoiled, and people made a big deal, and they were like, watching me throw Cheerios off my high chair and saying, "Look at how far Ricky threw the Cheerios off his high chair." So I was always on stage, and so being enthusiastic and being lit up was always like that's one of my gifts, just kind of waking up every day. But I will say, after I lost my dad, and then after I found myself again and found my path, I realized that lighting that spark in others was why I was put here. So, again, you talked about accepting the assignment. So, my goal is when I wake up in the morning and I just jump out of bed, there's never any snoozing and no snooze buttons or anything. When I open my eyes, I jump out of that bed and I'm going to be 63 years old and I'm more excited and enthusiastic about life than I ever was. And it's only because I'm like a third of the way through it now. So I'm like, all right, I'm at the one third point, so I better get going and start doing some great things and help light other people up. So the thing that lights me up is when I walk into a room and maybe I meet someone that's a little down, and when I leave, they're smiling, and I see the light in them, and I see that I've lit their torch, and
Yes.
that's what gets me excited.
Man, isn't that the gift that keeps on giving, man? Right?
Yeah.
And when you're able to empower someone in any way, shape, or form and be of service. And you speak about waking up and getting out of bed with purpose like that, man. And man, it's such a blessing when we wake up in the morning. We're winning the day already. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much to be grateful for once that day starts, man. And man, to continue doing it at 63 and beyond, that's when you know you're living in purpose and doing what you got to do. Speaking about living in purpose, I want you to tell everybody now what it is you're doing out there. So what do you have going on after this whole situation where you did reforge your life? What did it look like after getting out?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to be active physically, emotionally, and in the community. I think that those are things, I've studied longevity. I'm a health and wellness professional, so in addition to running a spa and wellness center in the dental field, which was kind of a laboratory for me, being involved with a medical device out of Germany called Beamer, and then having this podcast called the Road Ahead Cafe with my good buddies and brothers, Frank and Peter from the Netherlands and Canada. Um, it's always about helping other people find connection and wellness. So I think that these things they kind of go hand in hand. So well connected and well connected living is that wellness, the connection. I think these things are vital. I think that people who are in isolation, especially after 2020, we learned isolation could be a killer, even more than the COVID virus or any kind of health issues. Being alone and lonely is devastating for people. I know you were at your points in life. I know I was lonely and alone, and those are the things that I want to erase. So the currency of connection through well connected, and this brand is all about physical, emotional, and community well-being and bringing people together and having teaching the next generation of people to light each other's torches.
Yeah, man, it's so important to connect with people on that level, and help them be able to propel their life. And it seems like that's what you've been doing through this whole journey, and being of service of people like that.
Yeah.
And
And
you
how
also,
you and I met in Master Networks.
yeah,
But so that community piece, that's a place I get to serve. It's a platform that I get to serve and help elevate people personally and professionally every day.
yeah, and man, you do a great job at it, man. You definitely put me onto it, and I see how everyone else, man. Whenever there's a meeting, whatever it is, so many people are thankful for what you've done for that community, and it's awesome to watch, man. It really is. Speaking of connection, and obviously it's one of your core values. You got a book out there that people need to pick up.
I do. And I'm very
Yeah.
proud to say I co-authored it with my wife, Carol. Back in 2020, we were sitting at our dining room table, and I had already written three books, one in dentistry and two in marriage. And I was just I just said, man, we really need more connection. Everybody's so isolated. And I had written a book called The Hidden Currency of Marriage. And I said, that word currency, that's kind of like people think currency is like money. But for me, it's energy, value, and meaning. So we wrote the book, The Currency of Connection. I have a copy of it right here. This is what it looks like. The Currency of Connection. It's on Amazon, and it's about how to create energy, value, and meaning in your life and the lives of others. And through the currency of connection, not only the book, but the concept, I've been able to live that and teach it to others. And it's the basis of everything we do. So when I meet new people every day, like my father-in-law used to say, he'd say, there are no strangers, just friends who I haven't met yet.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, man. And if you haven't gotten it yet, get out there and get that book, man. Currency of Connection, because it's a good one. So, Rick, I'm curious though. I want to kind of go back to, when you did lose your father, and because that was losing your compass, your GPS in life. And what was the one turning point where you said, enough is enough? I got to make this change. Because there's a lot of people out there who go through challenges and they don't know when to go ask for help. They don't know what that rock bottom looks like. They don't know what it feels like. And they struggle with being able to ask for help. So, at what point did you say, enough is enough?
Well, I remember, partying so hard all the time and thinking, man, this is just so repetitious. And it's just so, there was a part of me that knew this was not a good road to be on. But somehow the cycle of 24 hours, it just kept going one day after the next. It just led into the next day, led into the next day. But I remember after reading that letter that, my teacher, Noel Haskell, sent me, I remember saying the phrase, I can't get any higher. And what I really meant was I couldn't get any higher synthetically. And by using something other than what was already inside of me. I didn't realize I had already been way higher than that in my life, just with the gifts that I had in my world. But I was using something basically to fill the hole in my heart. And it wasn't working. It was only working temporarily, you know, 3 hours at a time or 15 minutes at a time. For all those who know who are out there struggling with any kind of physical or substance addiction, it's not, it's only temporary. But I was looking for something that could be more permanent. I knew that was not sustainable. Once I realized I wanted to live and not go with my father, then I was able to reach out. But in the beginning, I couldn't even, I had people around me trying to help me. And I would run as fast and as far away from them as possible. So I needed to love myself again and believe that I was valuable. And by reading that letter and thinking, this is not a family member, it's a teacher, but it is like somebody is a chosen family. But I said, if somebody actually thinks that much of me, they think I'm valuable, maybe I really am. So I got the belief from someone else. And that obviously was God at work, right? Through him. That's why we all have to accept the mission that we're getting. We might not understand it, but
Yeah.
we all have a mission. So if today someone is listening to this or watching this and they feel like they're maybe getting that mission for someone else, and trust me, there was a community of people who were addicts right along with me
Yeah.
that we were doing this and we were working together. I talk about it in the book. There was actually a community of people supporting each other to either stay high or keep using, but there was also a community there. So oddly enough, I actually had it, but I couldn't identify it until I cleaned my life up and started doing things which were better for me, and then I was able to help other people. And I have one of my best friends who you've met is my buddy Gary from he's from Long Island, from Hopog. He just celebrated his 4th year of sobriety last week, and he messaged me and he was like, "Man, I got to thank you for the role you've played in this." And so we're all lights for each other, and we're all mirrors for each other.
Man, doesn't that feel so good when you get those
Oh my
phone calls
God.
that thank
When
you?
I get that text, Joe, every year, I remember when I thought I was going to lose him. And we've been friends since 1980. So this is a guy who went through all this with me. And I thought I was going to lose him. And I remember when he got sober, and I was like, man, that I know you're going to understand this. That feels better to me than my own recovery.
Hmm.
When I see somebody else like that who went longer, right? Well, I had a 4 or 5 year, you know, time when I couldn't come out of it, but his was many, many more years. So for him to say, I'm sober 4 years, that's even bigger than my own sobriety.
That's the gift that keeps on giving with it when you're
Yeah.
able to give it back like that.
Yeah.
You mentioned a couple of important things though that I kind of want to touch on. You mentioned how you weren't able to ask for help, right? And you people were trying to help you the whole way through, and
Yeah.
it's so important for people out there to understand that you can't help someone that doesn't want to help themselves. Somebody has to want to help themselves, because there's families out there that might be listening that they might have someone that's struggling in whatever it is that they're afraid to ask, that they haven't asked for help because they're not ready for help. So the only thing you could do is just keep being supportive of them, and for people out there who are struggling, don't be afraid to ask for help in whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're struggling with. And that's a big thing for not just people who are going through substance abuse, but entrepreneurs too. There's entrepreneurs out there who
100%.
try to take on
Yes.
everything on their own, and they're afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
You know, and the other thing you mentioned, the other thing that I wanted to ask you was how much, because I'm a big believer in 90% of the battle with, especially when it comes to substance abuse, is in the mind. I think it all starts in the mind, and the biggest piece is changing the mindset. At what point did you realize how important it was that to have that paradigm shift and change your mindset on that?
Well, as soon as it's kind of like both sides. As soon as there's a crack in the armor to go down the wrong road, there's momentum. And then if there's a crack in the armor or there's a crack in the cage and you see the light, you go the other way and there's momentum. So you start to see the people on both sides misaligned with your purpose. So just like I fell into the darkness, leaving the people who were my lights, once I saw the light and started to come out of it, I started to misalign with the people who were still in the darkness. So I switched communities and I went back to what I felt like was better for me and healthier for me. But that started with me caring. I had to value myself first. And reading that letter was the crack when was the first light that I saw. Think about a high school teacher writing a letter to a former student. Just the act of writing that letter.
Yeah.
He took a chance that I was going to shut him out just like everybody else I shut out. But he took the risk. And when I opened that letter, what I was reading were words from somebody with ink and pen, but really what I was seeing was I'm valuable.
Yes.
And so God worked through him to say, write this kid a letter. Maybe that's going to be the thing that wakes him up. And it did.
Yeah.
So if you're out there right now, and I tell people this all the time, write someone a letter. You never know, that letter might be the thing, because now that's not talking to them or texting them or calling them or bothering them. It's a passive form of communication. We don't use it anymore.
Yeah.
If you write a note, write a card and put it in an envelope and send it to somebody, now they can sit with that and the timing could be different. That what was so magical about it was, and it was 4 a.m. after an all-nighter. I might have been out for weeks at a time. And I opened that letter at 4 a.m. and I was hallucinating, but the switch flipped right then.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And you mentioned also the power of community and how that could help you shift your mindset,
Yeah.
right? Because when you're hanging out with people who are out there getting high, drinking, you're going to get high, you're going to drink eventually. When you surround yourself with people who are motivating you and who are taking their life to the next level and doing big things and being of service, guess what? You're going to end up being of service. It's like the old saying, if you go to a barber shop for 5 weeks straight, eventually you're going to get a haircut. You know what I mean? It's inevitable. Rick, man, can you tell everybody where to find you? So if they want to get in contact with you, please.
Yeah, they can go to rickgabrielli.com or gabrielli.com and they'll find everything they need to know right there. That's a digital card and they can see all the things I'm doing, and hopefully I can inspire someone and change some lives today.
Man, you inspire people every day. You inspire me, I know that. And so a couple of things, a couple of questions that I ask every guest. The first is going to be, what does the word purpose mean to you?
It's that feeling inside that there's something bigger than me in the world. And so it's kind of like a motor running. I use the metaphor of a waterfall. And it's kind of like if I have love in my heart and it's a waterfall, it's going in and it's going out like at the same rate. So I'm giving love out, but it's coming back in at the same rate. And so that feeling that I have something to offer and some work to do in the world, and it could be any kind of work. It could be physical, emotional, spiritual work. As long as we're at work, I'm a work dog, man. I need to be working on something all the time. And a lot of times it's other people. Even if I'm performing work in front of someone, they're watching the way we work. They're watching you and I right now. They're watching us interact and connect and create. And that's that work that may someone else may see and say, I want to do that kind of work. I want to work like that. I want to feel like that. So purpose to me is it's just having that motor inside you running, saying, I'm here to do something. I was given this beautiful heart and mind and body and spirit. I better do something with it. I'm on the house money. So it's like,
There you go.
this is completely like totally free. All the payments were made already on me.
Yeah, man, that's amazing, and it's so true. When you're doing God's work like that, man, it's so
Yeah.
much easier to do it and be of service when you know you're in alignment with that higher source.
Yeah.
And what does the word reforge mean to you?
Well, being legendary again, like I said, I had that time where I was, doing everything right. And then, sometimes the sword gets broken or dulled, and reforging it is sharpening that sword again and putting it in that fire and pulling it back out. And when you come out, we all get burned, but some of us get reforged.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Putting in the fire and coming back out to reforge.
Yeah.
And if you had to, for the listeners out there, if you had to tell someone 3 steps that they could take to reforge their life, what would those steps be?
Okay. So the first one is uncover, cultivate, and then celebrate your gifts and the gifts in others. So uncover, cultivate, and celebrate
Mm,
your gifts and the gifts in others.
mm,
Second is acknowledge that you had a past and that you did something right up until you heard this show today or watched this show. And that's the past. And it is what it is. And it's all a gift. It's a learning experience. So uncover, cultivate, and celebrate your gifts and the gifts in others. Acknowledge that you have a past, and then just make a decision on one thing that you want to help someone else with tomorrow. And as soon as you kick into that service mode, your problems melt away.
mm.
As soon as you help someone else, and could be anyone right in front of you, could be the person right next to you who's struggling right along with you. As soon as you help them, your problems are gone.
Man, I love that. I love that, man. It's so true because, man, helping others is a gift. It really is. And step number 2, man, what you said about the past is so powerful because we're not defined by our past. It doesn't make us who we are. You should say thank you to your past for making you the person that you are today, though, right?
Yes.
Because it played a
Yeah.
part, it plays a role,
100%.
but it
Yeah.
doesn't define what you are in the future. And it's so important for people to realize that. Leave your past where it was, take the pieces that could help you propel to the future, but don't dwell on the past and stay stuck there because you got a whole life ahead of you, man. Rick, this has been awesome. Like I knew it would be to have you on, man. I want to thank you again for being on the show, and man, it's always a blessing to be in your presence, brother.
Thank you, Joe. I love you, bro.
Love you too, man. Everybody out there, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a productive, profitable, and blessed rest of your week, man. Enjoy it.
You've been listening to Reforge Your Life with your host, Joe Rivera. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Joe Rivera and how he can help you or your organization reforge your life and regain your place at the top, head on over to withjoerivera.com and follow Joe on all social platforms. The Reforge Your Life podcast was produced by Thrive Loud Productions. Thanks for listening.